Let's talk, though, about what's happening in California and whether you think the move is permanent. You've moved, but there are a number of people who've actually moved to Texas or moved to Florida and said, you know what, I'm going back, actually.
There are a couple. I think I have at least one friend who love the Bay Area too much. And listen, we're about to throw some shade at California, which it deserves. I'm a patriot. I'd much rather be in California than China, right? California has some serious problems. It's not banning gay people from TV. It's not jailing minorities. It's not disappearing billionaires. Maybe it would like to, but it's a lot better place than a lot of our parts of the world. There are some serious incompetence problems. There's some serious special interest problems. It's really tough if you're in the middle class right now in California. You're driving an hour to afford to work, in the major economic centers. So there's a lot of incompetence that needs to be addressed there.
And do you think Gavin Newsom can do those things?
I think the legislature is the bigger problem. I think he gave in to the teachers' unions. He gave in to the powerful interests that were somewhat misguided this last year, and people are angry at him for it. But I think the legislature is going to have to be fixed as a bigger problem, so it's not going to fix it one way or the other. I think the important thing right now, though, you said there's a recall today. Unfortunately, there's been a recall where they changed the rules and they sent ballots to houses over the last 30 days, and then the unions are all going door to door and helping in poor areas. So I think, and they're allowed to harvest the ballots and turn them in for you. I mean, this is not a conspiracy. It's ridiculous how they changed the rules. It's very unlikely he loses given the shift in the rules over the last month.
Hey, Joe, what do your friends from California who've now moved to Texas think of the politics in Texas?
I think overall, Texas is a much better climate for business. Not all of us agree with the governor's, recent bill that's really controversial. I have a lot of people I respect who are pro-life, a lot of people I respect who are pro-choice, and people feel very strongly about that issue as an example. But, I think what really matters in this country is where is the government competent? Where is the government letting people build? Where is the government letting people, have good lives in the middle class versus getting in the way and interfering with stupid rules top down? So I think those are the issues we tend to focus on.
But do you imagine states like Texas actually politically shift over time? And I'm not necessarily suggesting it fully necessarily shifts from being red to blue, but maybe becomes a bit more centrist as a function of this pilgrimage, if you will.
It's interesting. If you actually look at the numbers, at least so far, the people who have moved here are more on the pro-liberty side than not. Actually, I saw a study earlier that Ted Cruz would have lost his Senate election a few years ago if you hadn't had people moving from outside the state the last 20 years. So I think a lot of people who self-select a certain way on average here. But either way, I wish things weren't as much about red-blue. I think it's much more about competence versus incompetence and a society that's functional and where special interests don't run the government. And there's issues in every state, but I think Texas is doing very well overall on that measure.